you financially literate?
Yes.
Do you think you can answer 5 financial questions everyone should know?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you 5 questions about financial literacy, and if you get them all right, you win. What is the difference between a debit card?
This is going to be important first and foremost, because how well you do on this is going to really give you a gauge on how well you are successfully in regards to finance. How well you are financially how successfully you are financially.
And a credit card.
Credit card, you're borrowing the money and then paying it back later, and debit's your money.
Perfect. Good job. 1 for 1. What is a credit score and what range is considered good?
I don't know, a mix of things, like how fast you pay your money back and how much you borrow. And the score, I think that's good, is like high 700s, 800s.
Perfect. Good job. 2 for 2. What is a Roth IRA?
Ooh, I just made one of those, but a place where you keep your money until you retire.
Yeah, good job. Good job. 3 for 3. Before we keep going, what do you do for work?
I'm a teacher.
Okay, nice. And what's the average salary for a teacher?
Like 50,000.
Okay, do you feel well compensated or no?
No, it's hard.
Okay, number 4. What is an emergency fund and how much should it contain?
At least like $3,000, and it's for unexpected expenses.
Good job. Yeah, 4 for 4. Okay, last one. This is the hardest one. What is the difference between an asset and a liability?
An asset is something you have, and a liability is something you like owe someone?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, good job. 5 for 5. And last question for you. What is like the best investing thing you do right now to prepare for future success?
My Roth IRA that I just made, and I save a lot of money. I don't spend a lot.
Guys, thank you so much for your time.
So the reason why this is so funny on so many different levels is because you would think like those questions were typically for the most part very easy, very simple, and you'd think that most people would be able to answer those questions. But the sad truth is most people would probably fail, would not get more than 50% of those questions right, which is a shame. But at the same time, knowing the difference between a debit card and a credit card is obviously essential. Most people may not even know what a debit card is because we're in such a like credit driven society in the Western world. Most people are just so fixated, especially if you're not from Europe, because in Europe, like debit cards, at least I remember growing up, was like a big thing. You get your debit card. Credit cards weren't necessarily really publicized that much, at least when you're young. When you're young, it's like, yeah, you get a debit card. And when we're young, we're thinking about, yeah, okay, like the money's going to, like we now get our own money, so to speak, right? And obviously, when you get older, you need to start paying bills, all that kind of stuff. That's really when credit cards become like a thing. And I'm saying that as someone who, I don't own any credit cards, and I don't desire to own any credit cards. So, but yeah, so when I think about those questions, the final question that I think is a good one in and of itself. What are you doing right now actively? What's the best investment vehicle you have right now? You know why that's good? Because most people aren't thinking about investing. And when it even comes to investing, most people can't even tell you what like a good investment actually is. But even before that, credit score. A lot of people know their credit score and stuff like that. They're interested in that because mortgage related stuff, right? But what is the difference between an asset and a liability? I think that is probably the most crucial question out of everything it asked. If people truly understood the difference between an asset is something which produces money for you. The difference between an asset and a liability is something which costs you money and has no prospects of making you money or being productive, right? So I did a video recently and it was these people, there was 2 different individuals in the video, and they're talking about, the first guy was talking about everyone is broke, and the lady mentioned how her car note is $500. And I said, well, what's crazy about this is if she bought that car, or maybe not that car, because maybe that car is probably clearly out of her league. But if she bought a car which she could afford to buy outright, she would have at least, at a bare minimum, an extra $500 a month. And I said something along the lines of, do you think that if you said to her, I could give you an extra $500 every single month, do you think she would turn around and be like, this is so helpful? No doubt. But the problem is, because people don't think a lot of the time in regards to assets versus liabilities, they spend a lot of their money and a lot of their time on liabilities and less time thinking about assets. So for most people, the only asset they probably have is their job. And they probably see their other asset that they probably have, children, as a liability. And the reason I say that is because a lot of people think about children as like a liability. I don't. One of the reasons I don't is because, number one, well, the Bible says children are a blessing from the Lord. So it's hard for me to square a blessing and a liability in the same breath. I don't see it like that. But at the same time, the reason I don't see it like that is because children, if you raise them in the right way, as more and more time goes on, they become more and more productive. They become part of the team that you are building as a family. So humans, we are always going to take. So think about it like this, right? You eat food, right? You need to eat. That costs money. You need to drink. That costs money. You need to do things. You need things which cost money. But do you really look at yourself as a liability? No. So in the same sense, why would we look at our children as a liability? They're not liabilities. They're only liabilities if you don't raise them the right way. Or if you raise them the right way, but they choose to rebel and do something contrary. That's the only way a child can become a liability. If you raise them in the right way and they do the right things, they listen to your guidance and your teaching, they are not going to be a liability. They're going to be an asset. So it's like an investment. You invest in the stock market, for example, or you invest in your business, and it may not pay you back what you want today, but at some point in the future, if you've invested wisely, it's going to produce something for you. And not only for you, you're not doing it right. The Bible says the children don't start for the parents start for the children. So I'm speaking in this investment return language, but the point is we're not doing it for our children for them to pay us back. We're doing it for them so they can be cool without us, number one. But number two, they can also help their children do the same thing. It's a perpetual success line. Think about it like that. A conveyor belt of success. Those that are further along help those that are coming after, so the system can continue to rotate and churn out more success. So we have to think about things. We have to be financially literate. We have to know how to read, financially speaking. Because if we don't, if we are not looking at our finances, I did this video recently as well, right? They were talking about, a woman talking about this lady who's spending $40,000 on luxury bags and $70,000 on watches and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, the whole point I was saying in the video was like, unless she's doing this from a business perspective, the sad thing is a lot of people will watch that sort of content, covet and desire what she has, and not be financially disciplined to purchase expensive things or things which are out of their current financial window or bracket. They will go and do silly stuff like buy those same things on credit. They are imprisoning themselves in the future because of a current potential present pleasure, which is foolish. It's not wise, and it isn't going to help you or those that are dependent on you in the future. So I always like to say, do the right thing today, reap the right thing tomorrow. Do the right thing today, reap the right thing tomorrow. Continue to do the right things today. You'll get to a point in time, if you're not there already, where the todays that you're having right now, you're going to be reaping a lot of the right stuff. And you just continue to do that. And that's what we call the snowball effect. So she answered those questions very well for the most part. The only thing I was kind of a bit like was, well, the emergency fund. If you're going like, when she said that, I immediately thought about Dave Ramsey. An emergency fund is 6 to 12 months of your expenses. So if you have that, people will typically tell you that you will be very comfortable in a lot of respects. Even if like most emergencies that happen, you will be fine. Your emergency fund will be able to take care of it. And at that point, all it is about just replenishing your emergency fund and going obviously beyond that. So be financially literate, guys. It will serve you and serve your children so much more going into the future. Don't forget to like it, subscribe, and obviously don't forget to react righteously. God bless.